What's up, everyone? I'm Drew.
And I'm Delco.
Welcome to the D&D show.
This morning we want to continue on compassion. It's going to go probably throughout what we are going to be doing. So with that, we're looking at Matthew chapter 3. We're looking at the series of events that happened within Matthew with John. And one thing that stood out to me, Andrew, was the fact that John didn't want to baptize Jesus. He felt that Jesus should baptize him. And with that being said, we were thinking about how, as a society, we talked about last time, how we are self-centered, how we think about ourselves. And you see here in this situation that John felt like, no, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about you, Jesus. Like, why should I be baptizing you? You should be baptizing me. And we thought that we could tie that in because with that, we're thinking about like how we are so self-centered. We are so selfish as people. We are just really like seriously lacking compassion towards one another. And we're thinking about with that too, it comes the humility part of it. And then with the humility, if we can't humble ourselves to realize that it's not about us all the time, then we'll get into a pride issue. And then with the pride, and we know as men, we are very prideful. It's hard for us to admit when we're wrong. It's hard for us to even try and try to make things right. Our pride usually gets in the way of a lot of stuff. And I just think that that's something that we as a race, as a people, need to work on because with that, nothing will get better in society. And I guess I'm going to switch it over to Drew to see just what his view is on that.
You know, reading through that, when I'm picturing John out there in the wilderness, here's this guy dressed in, camel's hair and a leather belt, running around eating bugs dipped in honey. And people were swarming to him just to hear what he had to say. And it's because they wanted something different. And they were leaving their homes, leaving their cities. They were traveling to go find this guy out in the wilderness, of all places. And because it just goes to show how bad they wanted it. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, when they encountered John out in the wilderness, regardless of what he was wearing, regardless of what he was eating, I mean, how many times would we look at a guy like that just in passing by? And we just kind of give that little judgmental kind of like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
But this guy had a message, and, when Jesus comes on the scene, obviously some time has passed between Matthew 2 and Matthew 3. John has kind of built Jesus up and was telling people that I'm just doing this. And there's somebody who's going to be coming soon who's even greater than I am. And he's talking about Jesus, and lo and behold, Jesus shows up to be baptized by John, who just spent all this time talking about how great, how mighty, and awesome Jesus is, and he's going to be. But Jesus tells him that in order for God's will to be done, he needs to be baptized by John, the dude dressed in camel's hair. So I guess to me, we all play a part. Sometimes maybe we feel like we aren't good enough, or we aren't worthy. I think we always need to keep an attitude of humility. Nobody's better than anybody else. When it comes to God and Jesus, no, we aren't worthy. But he did something great for us, and part of this life, the purpose in life, is to try to make a difference in somebody else's life. And you can't do that when you're focused on yourself and you're self-centered and you walk around, judging people, have an attitude towards people, regardless of where they're from, regardless of what they look like, and whatever else. So that's just kind of what I took away from that. And go ahead.
Go ahead. And another thing I was thinking about, like he was saying, like how judgmental are we as a people? I think sometimes we judge people just by how they look, and just like Drew was saying, like John had like a wardrobe of a homeless man basically, but he didn't care. I mean, like how often do we care about what we have on to push the mission for God? We are, like he was saying, like we do use our eyes to scold people, or like we have to remember that just because we don't say it doesn't mean God cannot read our hearts or our minds. So I think that we need to be careful on that aspect of it too, as far as in like our feelings and our emotions or what we see, because sometimes what we see is not, like what we think it really is. I just think that we need to truly be compassionate towards people. I think we need to deny self. I think we need to stop thinking of ourselves so much. I think it'll make us better as people when we can push ourselves to the side and say, what can I do for someone else? I think that that's really big in changing who we are as people to be better for other people, because every day there's somebody that needs somebody else. No matter how we feel, we can be like, well, I'm going through this or I'm going through that, but it's somebody that's going through something worse than you. And I think that once we learn to put ourselves over to the side and to think of others, I think that we'll become better as people, and I think that we'll be more helpful in this mission that we're on in this life, to be more compassionate and to show more humility, and to, I think it will help with the pride and everything else that comes with it. So with that being said, I think that's all I have to say on it, as far as in what I took from it, as far as in what we read. So
yeah, and I'd say probably to challenge you, we want feedback too. We're new at this. We're just getting started with this thing, but I just appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this with Delco. Get a hold of us, YouTube. I'm going to start posting these on Facebook now that we got a few of them done. For some of you that know me personally, I used to do something similar on Facebook. It wasn't video, it wasn't podcast or anything, but it was just taking a piece of scripture, putting it out there, and putting a challenge with it. So that's kind of what we want to do with this. So if you're challenged in any way, or if you have any comments or feedback, let us know. We'll have it on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. So, but I guess just to bring it back around to the end of that chapter, it wasn't until Jesus and John did what they had to do before God was pleased and his will was fulfilled. And it was because both of them were in a position doing what they were supposed to be doing. Kind of like we touched on the last video of Joseph. He did what he was led to do, and as a result, God was pleased. So just a little challenge to, again, kind of slow down, turn off all your devices, get alone, get quiet, whatever, and just see what God's trying to tell you. Not only in regards to compassion, but to anything else maybe in your life, because there's a lot of things that go on in your life can distract you from really being able to listen and see what God's trying to tell you. So
definitely we need the feedback. We need your input, because really this is not really about me and Drew. It's about like what we can do to help each other. So feedback will be great. Input, what you think that we can touch on, what you think that we can get better at. just so we can help each other, and just so we can have different topics and stuff to talk about, that we may encourage each other, and that we may be better as people.
All right. With that, I think we'll call that a wrap, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
All right, have a good one.